So in my recent videos, well, most of my recent videos, I have been doing a lot of soil to pond transfers and water to pond transfers. And I've been receiving just like some comments on like what is pond and why pond. So I am not a pro. I am not an expert. I'm just going to basically just show you what's been working for me during this time. I have been using pond, and all of my plants that I have transitioned from either there's been sphagnum to pond, water to pond, soil to pond. They have all survived. I don't have any pond plant heavens, any plants that are in plant heaven from pond transfer. So yeah, so first of all, what is pond? This is pond. Pond is basically rocks. You can put your plants in rocks and it can survive. Pond is a mixture of zeolite, lava rock, and pumice. That's all it is. However, there are many different amendments that you can do to your pond, but this is just the basis. And for me, what I personally have been using is Lechuza PON. Lechuza PON, you can get it on Amazon. I know lately they've been out of stock a lot. However, I have looked up and the only pond I've used is the one from Lechuza on Amazon, or of course you can go straight to the Lechuza site and purchase it there. So as far as the amendments that you can do or use, for me personally, the only amendments I do is add Leca clay pebbles, Leca clay pebbles, and that's literally what it is. Leca is just clay pebbles. I use that especially for my monsteras that I have in my Leca pond mix. I use the base as straight Leca, and then I interchange between pond and Leca. Leca, it basically adds more flow throughout the potting medium. It adds more aeration, especially for those thick roots. I just want to make sure that it's getting enough airflow. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, getting enough airflow. And you can, I've seen other people, they use sphagnum moss in it, they add perlite to it, they add either more of the zeolite or more of the pumice or more of the lava rocks. Honestly, it depends on what you prefer, what works best for you. And then if you do purchase pond from Lechuza PON, it does come with, I believe, a 6-month slow release fertilizer. If you do decide to make your own pond, you can add your own fertilizer that you use. So for me, all of my plants, I don't fertilize my plants at all. That's just personal preference. And well, I guess technically I do when I water my plants with my fish tank water. Fish tank water is basically, it is a natural fertilizer because you have the fish waste and like all the stuff in the whole like little ecosystem. It can act as a fertilizer. However, I don't do it often. It just depends on when I clean my tank. But my tank is self-maintenance, so I don't have to do that a lot. But for me, all the ones that are currently in pond, only a few have fish tank water in from my last change, which was it was months ago, and they're doing fine. And if I were to compare them to the ones that don't have fish tank water versus the one that does have fish tank water in it, they're honestly all doing completely fine. So no issues on that part. So as far as containers go for your plants that you want to put in pond, you can do what you want. I have a mixture of some that are in regular glass containers, and I have some that are in nursery pots, in a coffee cup, and some that are in actual planters that were made for like semi-hydro. So it depends on you. So my monsters that I have transferred to my pond Leca mix, those are in containers to where if I need to, like, you know, every once in a while I like to run water through it, I can do that. Versus if you have your plant in just a regular glass container, you would have to completely, you know, remove the plant, remove the substrate. That's just too much. So, but for my monsteras, because they're my babies, I do have them in a clear pot that I can just run water straight through. And so for the ones that are in the glass containers, I do have some that has accumulated algae. I know some people don't agree with me, but it's fine. It's not going to harm it. I mean, if you have water cuttings and it does, and it's in a glass and it produces a whole bunch of algae, it can affect the water root growth for it. It can. I personally never had that experience, and my plants that are in pond, I do have some that have algae, and it's been a while, but she does fine. I just always, of course, keep an eye on it. And of course, if you see the roots starting to black, starting to rot, then go ahead, remove your plant, give it fresh potting mix, and go on from there. I guess I'm just saying, don't freak out if you see algae. It's okay. It's okay. And so I would say my favorite container that I have used is, okay, my top two. I was going to say my salad spinner, but my Monstera Thai Constellation, I have her in my scalloped clear pot that I got from Dollar Tree, and I use my soldering iron to puncture holes in it. And I had this old glass jar that I used to have a terrarium, and I have her placed in there, and I don't know, just the aesthetic of that is so pretty. So that's my favorite one. My second one is a salad spinner. And salad spinners are very cost effective as well. You can purchase it from a thrift store. I purchased mine from Home Depot, but then I got a lot of comments saying you can go to a thrift store. And I still haven't been, but the ones I purchased from Home Goods was I think $12 or something like that. And I mean, it's still functional, and I think it's cute too. So yeah, those are definitely my favorite ones. But like I said, you just do whatever you prefer. Amazon does sell pots that are made specifically for ponds, specifically for semi-hydro. However, especially if you plan on transferring a lot of plants, that can become very costly. So it just depends on your budget. Like for me, like you see, I do a lot of DIYs. They make me happy. And like with the soldering iron, the pots from Dollar Tree, like you can get a lot. So basically, if you go on Dollar Tree website and you purchase a whole box of the scalloped containers, which I believe 30 come in a box, and it's something like that, like $30. My soldering iron was only $9. And then I'm sure, or even if you don't, you have some kind of old pot you don't use, or some cachet pot or whatever. Cover pots aren't that expensive, and just get a cover pot like that. To me, it is a little bit more cost effective than purchasing the planters that are specifically made for semi-hydro, but it just depends on you and your budget. Can I pick you up without you falling? Oh my goodness, this is really heavy. Are you sure you want to do this, Janae? Okay. This one is my absolute favorite. I just picked it up. I wasn't expecting it to be this heavy. But this is actually in Pon Leca mix. I just dressed it with Leca on top, and I'm gonna put it down before I drop it. Okay. This is really heavy. Oh my goodness. Okay, side note, I wasn't like being funny. That is really heavy. That's another thing. Pon can be extremely heavy. So if you do have, I would say that's a bigger plant. Yeah, that's probably a 16. Yeah, a 16-inch. I was gonna say planter, but it's a trash can. So if you do plan on, like I do have some on the wall. The shelf that is on the wall, it is hung on nails. It should be on anchor nails, honestly, but it's not, but it's on nails. And so I know it's like strong enough to be able to hold the weight of those plants. So also just keep that in mind. Okay, so as far as transferring to pond, I'm going to insert some video clips. So this recent one, I actually did a transfer of a Dracaena. I don't remember the exact variety name, but I just did a soil to pond transfer. I didn't wait for her to get water roots or anything. She went straight from the soil to pond. Just make sure you try your best to rinse off most of the soil. However, if you do leave soil on it, it's completely fine. And on Lechuza PON bag, it actually says if you leave a little bit of soil, like it's gonna be fine. But for me, I do try to remove like all of it if I can. And so I just removed the soil really good and just potted her up in pond. That's it. And I have a water level probably about 3/4 or so up. You can put it a little bit lower, but I tend to keep my water reservoirs higher just so I don't have to water as frequently. That's just what works for me. And for your water to pond transfers, to me, those are the easiest because you already have your water roots in the pond. It's going to, you know, have a water reservoir. So those have been really easy. I would say majority of my plants that are in pond have been from water to pond transfer, and they're doing good. And for my water to pond transfer, honestly, I keep the water level all the way up, like not 3/4, but all the way up. And yeah, they do fine. Especially, like I said, they have water roots, so they're used to being drenched in water. Because for me, it's the same if when I transfer a plant from water to soil and it already has the water roots, I keep the soil moist, at least for the first 2-3 weeks or so. But for pond, I just always keep the level all the way up. For your sphagnum moss to pond transfers, I do the same. I remove as much as possible, but I did honestly leave a little bit of sphagnum moss on the roots and went ahead and added pond on it. But just be careful. Do what you're comfortable with, because sphagnum moss does hold on to water really well, and you want to make sure you don't have root rot. So do what your comfort level is. But I have left a little bit, like the Aglaonema Prestige I was just holding. That was a sphagnum moss to pond transfer, and I left a little bit of sphagnum on her, and I just had to up her. She went from a small pond pot, well, small glass container, to now this big trash can. So my oldest plant that I have that's been living in pond, my very first plant, is my absolutely beautiful Veitchii. I uploaded a short and I said, whenever I first purchased her, I purchased her from Tropicals. They're based in Ecuador. I got her and I was like, oh, she cute, but that's it. However, now I'm like, she's beautiful, she's amazing, she's magnificent, absolutely gorgeous. Her look. Okay, so it is past time for me to repot my Veitchii. Seriously, she makes me so happy, and she's one of my favorite plants. I can't say that loud so the others can't hear. So, but yeah, she was my very first transfer from, she arrived in sphagnum moss. I had her in the sphagnum moss in water for about 2 weeks. And I kept reading up on pond. I first found out about pond from Plant Life Lex via Instagram a couple years ago. And I was like, girl, what you doing? What is that? And then she was telling me about it, and I was like, oh, okay. And I would look it up, but I was like, I'm not gonna do that because I was nervous. But I'm glad I did, and this baby has definitely thrived. So she's going on almost a year in pond. I transferred her in pond in, or is it a year? No, I got her in June. It's June now. Wow. Well, whatever. She's probably almost a year. Basically, very shy of a year being in pond. And look at this new growth. Oh, and then that baby right there too. My sweet, sweet first baby in pond. You and your budget. Yeah. Almost dropped my phone.